then come and then you read this abstract, Willie. Very interesting to me. Yeah, you're exactly right. So I picked up two key points when you were reading the abstract. One is that in the first sentence, I used the word self-sufficiency, and then the second one was there was a talk about the strategy being savings incentives. Now, this was standard language at the time. That we didn't really have a different way to talk. Um, well, this was like the way people talk. At this point, if anybody in the CSD uses the term self sufficiency, I have a talk with them about why we don't use that word or that term, right? Because and that reasoning is that social policy and supports are so prevalent and such a big part of the economy, really. I mean, social policy is more than half of the US federal budget. It and basically, and if you include the tax system in there about who gets tax benefits, and this became an analysis in Assets of the Poor. Also, it's like people are no one is self sufficient. Uh, maybe by this point Elon Musk is self sufficient, but the rest of us, the rest of us are have all kinds of supports going on. And I'm old enough to collect Social Security now, and I can tell you, it's very nice to have a Social Security check coming in every month that takes care of me. Um, so I would say I would have a lot more emphasis on policy and social structure that builds assets and wealth and well-being, and less emphasis on self-sufficiency. And literally, I do not tolerate using that phrase anymore. And the second one is savings incentives. And there was no, at the time, it's hard to remember that at the time there was no other way for me to talk about it. I didn't know, but I would never use this language now. We do think savings incentives is important, and we think individual savings behavior is important, but it's much more important that public policy support asset accumulation with large deposits, uh, and early in life, so these resources can build. And yes, savings should be promoted also, and actually, and Willie's very onto this issue right now, that multiple flows of money into these accounts should be supported. But savings incentives really not the main story. It's really about asset accumulation. So I will also edit out anytime my staff talks about savings behavior and say what we're talking about is asset accumulation. And that's not quite the same thing. So so I hope maybe that sets the stage for a pretty good discussion here today.